Dear people of China, we have a message for you from Lithuania on the eve of the new year. When I say we, I mean a lot of people in Lithuania who want good relations with your country. As you may well know, in this year, which is coming to its close, 2021, we had quite a difficult relations between Lithuania and China. Let me remind you that our government, unfortunately, practically destroyed relations with China. How? By opening the so-called Taiwan representation in our capital Vilnius in Lithuania. This is in breach of all diplomatic practices, of all diplomatic relations and conventions. It is a sad story because our economy, our businesses, people who work in these businesses suffered a severe blow to their incomes after some reciprocal actions of your government. Let me assure you that a majority of Lithuanians really want good relations with China. I should say that we have a lot of people in Lithuania, a lot of organizations, of civil society organizations, and I represent one of these civil society organizations. My name is Algirdas Paleckis. I am a politician and a journalist and a former diplomat as well. And I know what it takes to be good politicians and to be good diplomats. Unfortunately, the government, the current government, did not demonstrate the necessary level of diplomacy, of understanding of the role of China in current global affairs, in current global economy. And as a consequence, you should know that lots of Lithuanians think, and to the difference with the government of ours, that this was a mistake to recognize the so-called Taiwan representations in Lithuania. It was a mistake, a huge mistake. The problem is that the government has no courage to recognize this. The more so that the government of Lithuania is very much dependent on the American government, on the American administration, and this is another very unfortunate circumstances that we, part of Lithuanians, elected such a government, but the government practically betrayed the interests of many Lithuanians and started to conduct the pro-American policy, which is of course useful to some people in Washington, but it has no use for the majority of Lithuanians and of course for Chinese. So when we think about China, although we are separated by many thousands of kilometers, we see your country as a very developing country, very fast developing country in many areas. Of course, we are Europeans. You live in another part of the world. We may have cultural differences. We may have many differences, but we have to respect each other. We have to respect each other, and this is what our government does not understand. And this is also contrary to many European governments' policy. Many European governments want good relations with China, like Germany, like France, like Sweden. But the problem is the American administration, which forced our government to adopt such a stance. And let me say that lots of businesses in Lithuania are suffering. We have now a huge losses of hundreds of millions of euros of income. Many businessmen who lost your market are just going crazy, to put it bluntly. And we, the taxpayers of Lithuania, we now have to compensate. We now have to compensate these businesses from our pocket. Our government is taking our money from our pockets and compensating the businesses of Lithuania for the loss of the Chinese market. It's a terrible mistake, and it has this year witnessed such a blunder. And what I want to convey on behalf of many people of Lithuania is the following. I want to say that the next year, 2022, should be the year of rebuilding our relations, of rebuilding the bridges which were burned by the current government. And I'm sure that we will do this. Why? Because I see the sociological surveys, I see the data which shows that lots of Lithuanians want a change. And let us work together. Let us work together to surmount the differences, to come to another phase of our relations, to restore the diplomatic relations, economic relations, cultural relations. I think sooner rather than later we will revoke the mistaken decision to open the Taiwan, so-called Taiwan representations in Lithuania. We will just revoke it. It will happen, and we will work in Lithuania for this to happen sooner rather than later. On that occasion, dear Chinese people, let me convey warmest wishes for you on the eve of a new year, on the occasion of a new year. Let me wish you best luck, good health, further development of your country, further development of your relations with Europe, and lots of individual luck for each family in China. Happy New Year!